here to help you with breeze. Planting seeds and teaching skills. Teachers turn schoolyards to dreams. Oh, hey, School Gardens with Ease.
Hello and welcome to School Gardens with Ease podcast. I am Leila Mireskandari, your host, and this is episode number 16. As the release of this episode lines up with start of school year, at least around where I live, and I'm sure for many of your listeners as well, I think it's fitting if we talk about gardening in fall and winter. Other than the more obvious things those of you who have, a garden from the past year would be doing in fall and winter, things like harvesting food, saving seeds, and you may be, the weather might allow you to plant even, fast growing cold crops and, harvest them before freeze. And other than obvious things you could do in winter, such as preparing for your future school garden in spring, write your lesson plans for it, fundraise for it, etc. Other than those obvious things, what else can you do in your classroom that's easy, season appropriate, and does not require a lot of funds or effort? Because what if you don't have a garden from last year, or you're not planning to, start a big and juicy garden in spring? Is there any gardening or garden activity you could do with your class to bring greenery to your cold and gloomy fall and winter months? And is there any food you could grow easily in fall and winter? Well, the answer to both those questions is a resounding yes. I know that probably gardening is not top of mind for most people at this time of year, and that's, of course, completely reasonable. But did you know that there are many gardening and garden related activities you could run in your class in fall and winter that are fun, engaging, highly educational, and some of those activities would result in food, actual food your students could enjoy together? And I'm not talking about growing under grow lights and forcing, those spring and summer veggies such as tomatoes into growing in the middle of winter. No, no, no. And I am not talking about growing in Australian winters. No offense, but my Aussie friends, you can't call that a winter. As you may remember, I'm Canadian, and when I say winter, I really mean it. I'm not even talking about year-round gardening. I gave up that romantic idea a long time ago because unless you have grow lights and very sophisticated growing equipment, and most of you don't, growing even leaf lettuce in winter is not such an easy task, actually. Believe me, I've tried many times, and only when I use grow lights and fans on complicated timers was I successful. I say that because there are a lot of bad advice out there about this. If you Google or GPT the benefits of growing indoors, I guarantee you'll get year-round gardening as one of those. Don't listen to them, okay? Growing even the simplest veggies require not only warmth, but also sunlight. Even growing partial shade veggies still requires sunlight. And more sunlight than most of us get in fall and winter. And the duration as well as the intensity of the sunlight both matter. Science tells us that. But I also have a feeling that plants grow also based on some other aspects of sunlight. Now, that's just a feeling. Don't quote me on this. I don't have science back me up. But I think plants sense that sunlight is getting weaker and it's lower in the sky every day rather than the spring when it gets stronger and it's higher in the sky every day. They just know this is wrong timing and they wouldn't put enough effort into it. I don't know. I'm a bit weird when it comes to growing food. I go with my guts many, many times, and that's what I feel. So unless you go artificial and mimic the intensity and duration of spring and summer sun, growing food year round is not feasible for most of us. Not on your classroom window ledge, and anyway. I had to bust that myth before we get into the exciting stuff that I want to tell you about growing in fall and winter, because there are many exciting season appropriate gardening you can do in fall and winter. And by the way, I've written up a PDF download for you on this topic, and that's in the show notes. Go ahead and download it. So let's get to it. Number one, Did you know that some seeds need to be in winter weather at least for 3 months before spring? And if that doesn't happen for them, like for example, if the seeds are kept in a room temperature, closed safely in their packets, when you grow them in spring, they will not grow very well. One of those seeds is the famous milkweed seed. Yes, the one that monarch butterflies heavily rely on for their survival of their species. I'm sure you've heard about the monarch's story. You may have already talked to your students about it a million times. You and your students might have already joined campaigns of all kinds with, the cause to save the monarch butterflies from extinction and all that good stuff. Well, here's your chance to get involved and learn a ton at the same time from the comfort of your classroom. Get some milkweed seeds to grow in spring and then plant outside around your school. And now, what does that have to do with fall and winter, you might ask? Well, as I was mentioning, milkweed seed needs to be in cold weather for at least 3 months to grow well in spring. That's called stratification. Your students would open the seed packs and pour them and mix them with wet sand and, close the bags and put them in the refrigerator for 3 months. The most exciting part about this gardening activity is that it has two parts. One is the stratification, and the second part is in spring when your students, take those out of the refrigerator and plant them. Imagine all the connections you make with your curriculum with this activity and all the learning that will happen and, the hands-on learning and all of that. So that's the first season appropriate gardening activity you could do in fall and winter, the milkweed stratification. Here's another one. Making seed balls. I encourage you to look into the seed balls idea if you are not familiar with it. And another name for this, seed bombs. This is a major reforestation and rejuvenation process that humans can do to help the planet Earth. The idea is to make little 1-inch clay balls that contain wildflower seeds, native plant seeds, even tree seeds, make lots and lots and lots of them, and then throw them out on bare soil. The balls are made simply of clay, soil, seeds, and water. Obviously, the water and clay work together to form the balls and help them keep their shape. You leave them to dry completely and you store them for spring, the right time to throw them out. This is it's a method of guerrilla gardening. Guerrilla gardening is the act of gardening, growing food, native plants, flowers on land that you don't have legal rights to cultivate, such as abandoned sites, areas that are not being cared for, or private property. Obviously, we won't be throwing seed balls on other people's private property, but seed balls are really good to throw, on the side of the highways, alongside the ravines, or even on that abandoned, corner of the schoolyard garden that's an eyesore. Let's pretty that up. The idea is to grow these native plants, flowers, and trees with a lot of ease. In fact, sometimes a governmental strategy to rejuvenate a deserted area and, cover it with native vegetation to help with environmental issues. When governments or big NGOs or nonprofit organizations do this, though, they do it in massive amounts. They get lots and lots of volunteers to make thousands, if not millions, of seed balls. Then they load them on planes and release them on land that's bare and needs to be rejuvenated from the sky, from the airplane. Hence the other name, seed bombs. Why is this a good way to plant? Because the seeds are protected from the birds and other animals inside those balls. And when the weather is nice and warm and it rains, that rain is absorbed by the clay and stored for the seed. And the soil that you pack into that seed ball also is a good starting point for the seed to take roots and grow strong. You usually put native plants in these seed balls anyway, and that little bit of help that you give them is good enough for them to grow strong. Now, isn't that genius? And can you see how much easier it would be to do that than plant every one of those seeds one by one and make sure that they're watered every day? That's impossible to do in large scale for sure. I'm sure you can see the ample amount of learning that could happen with this season-appropriate gardening activity. And this is also one of those two activities in one kind of things, because you make the seed balls in fall and winter, and then you throw them out in spring. Lots of fun, lots of learning. A third season appropriate garden related activity is making seed paper. Seed paper makes a wonderful holiday gift too. So do seed balls, by the way. You can put them in pouches and then your kids can gift them to family and friends. So the seed paper and seed balls are actually season appropriate twice, winter appropriate and holiday season appropriate. If you don't know what a seed paper is, Google it. You'll be happy you did, because they are very pretty and, again, very nice for holiday gifts. Seed paper is a paper that has seeds in its texture. You plant the paper and it grows. Annual herbs, flowers, leaf lettuce, arugula are some seeds that I suggest you make into seed paper with your students. You soak shredded paper until it's mushy, then blend it into a wet and runny paste. Mix seeds with it and spread it thin, press it, and leave it to dry. To make your paper making easier, you could also get a paper making screen. You can find that on Amazon and other places. You can run it through your mixture, the screen. It will collect the pulp and, on a flat surface that's like paper. So it makes it very easy to create those paper shape. It's tons of fun to make these. Now, how about growing some food in fall and winter? The simplest, and by the way, the fastest way you could ever grow food is sprouting. There are plenty of seeds that can be sprouted to eat, all beans, including lentils, radish, broccoli, clovers, mustard, and many, 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 many more. I have written a guide on sproutings, and it's somewhere in my files. I will dig it out and I will email it to you. In fact, I have written guides on seed balls, seed paper, stratification too. Tell you what, go download the PDF checklist that's for this episode on the show notes. If you're not on my list, that will put you on the list. This way, when I dig out these guides and dust them off and send them over, you'll for sure receive them. I have written so many gardening guides over the years, I have lost count. Where were we? Yeah, sprouting. The fantastic thing about sprouting, it can be done all year round because it needs absolutely no sunlight. Also, it takes only 2 to 3 days. Nothing is faster than that. And the last season appropriate activity I want to tell you about, that's also fast and also grows food, is microgreens. Microgreens are those little baby plants that have grown their first leaves, the nurse leaves, and are about to grow their first true leaves. That's the stage that you cut them and eat them as greens in your soup, salad, sandwich, etc. Because these seeds will not grow to full mature plants, they need just a little bit of sunlight, and the fall and winter light is plenty for that. And they grow really fast in about a week. Sprouts and microgreens are both powerhouses of nutrition, and just like sprouts, there are many, many seeds that you can microgreen too, each with a different taste and texture, lots of experiential learning, lots of fun, lots of experimenting with different seeds. It's amazing. And this too can be done year-round. Now, this concludes what I had in store for you for this episode. I hope it inspires you to grow and bring greenery to your fall and winter classrooms. Not only your students will have fun, will learn a lot, and will get to eat what they grow, this will also freshen up your classrooms and brighten it with vibrant life. Download your PDF checklist of the fall and winter season appropriate gardening for classroom, and I will talk to you in the next episode. You've listened to the entire episode, and for that, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and please share this episode with other teachers who might be interested in this topic. See you next week for a new episode.